Good morning, everybody. It's 10 a.m., so time to get started. We just want to start off by saying that Brian bet us that we were not going to have more than 75 people on here, and so you all were able to prove him wrong. We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we just want to welcome everybody. Thank y'all for taking the time to hop on with us. We feel like around here, we feel like communication is the key to getting some of our construction issues in order. And we believe that this format has been really good for that. It's been good for us. And so glad to have you. So again, at the end of this meeting, just like all meetings we have, there will be a time for Q&A. So try to hold your questions till then. But for now, we're going to go ahead and get started with Brian.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to go through our agenda real quick, and then we're just going to kick it off. We're going to talk a little bit about the reorganization, the district reorg, and the DCE positions. We give you an update on that. We're going to talk about contractor default and disqualification process. We have a new warning letter that's going to be going out. Calendar day versus working day contracts. LPA qualification program updates, spec changes for category ones, reserving rights on change orders, RFCOs. We got some changes we're making to that process. And then Patrick's going to do an e-construction update. And we have a right of entry form update for you as well. So we're going to go through those. We have a PowerPoint set up. Again, if you have any questions, you can throw them in the chat while we're talking. And at the end, we'll go through those. So let's kick it off. So right off the bat, I just want to give everybody a little update on the district construction engineer positions and the reorganization from operations to Office of Engineering. We've submitted everything that the secretary asked us to do back in March on the 26th to civil service. And while civil service has been reviewing that, our HR has gone through and evaluated some of those. Les, can you go to the next slide? So this org chart will kind of give you an overview of new positions. And the main thing I want to point out is that everything will run up to the chief engineer, through our deputy chief, and then through the chief construction and materials engineer, which we have section 40, which is Matt and his group, and then section 22, the materials lab. That's Chris Wascom. The district construction engineers are going to be these new sections at the bottom. Each district will have their own district construction engineer. Those will be engineer 8s, and the project engineers will be engineer 7s. You can go to the next slide, Les. This is a typical, what a typical construction unit would look like. And what I want to point out on this slide is that the assistant project engineer positions are also going to be moving up to engineer 6s as well. And I just want to read this. I talked to HR again this morning to make sure that this statement is accurate, and they agreed that it was, that the proposed duties and subordinate structures for the new engineer 8s, the 7s, and the 6s, these positions appear to meet allocation criteria. And what that means is they've evaluated to make sure that they meet the requirements of civil service, the span and control, and that they can justify those positions for those levels. So that's a very positive impact on moving this initiative forward. As I said, this is the entire package, including the changes in operations, have been handed over to civil service and are being evaluated now. There's a meeting in 2 weeks with the operations side where we're going to talk about moving over these 700 some odd positions from the Office of Operations to the Office of Engineering. So we're working on it. This is the direction that we've been told to go. As far as everything that's happening over at the governor's mansion and at the legislation, we were told to move forward with this initiative, and that's what we're doing. So that's where we are. I just want to give everybody an update, and we'll go on to the next topic, which I just want to talk about the flow chart reminder. This is what we set up back in January because we were having some issues where things were kind of falling off of the table or getting pushed to the back. And I just want to remind everyone of this process and this escalation procedure. Each of these, we've got e-construction, work zone, fabrication, MATLAB, railroad, audit, estimates, headquarter area engineers, basically whatever you need to come up to headquarters for, this is the process. And if that fails, if you failed to get a response in a timely manner, it shows you how to escalate that procedure. And we've implemented the call center. We have not been getting calls through this, so I just assume everything's been going great. But I want to remind everyone, if there are problems, please utilize this process so we can, that we're not missing things, that we make sure that all the issues get resolved. Now I'm going to turn it over to Matt Jones to talk a little while.
So, good morning, everybody. The contractor default disqualification procedure. So we're not really going to go over, what you have to do to get into a disqualification or default issue. What we want to do is just contractors want to let y'all know we are going to be sending out letters when contract time expires that goes to you as well as the bonding company. It's just a letter that'll state, more or less a warning. Hey, you have met the requirements for default. You're out of time, but the project isn't complete. We are not planning on putting you in default at this, particular time frame. However, we do have to notify the bonding company. So one of the things that we found with going through some of these default procedures is the bonding company says that they have not been put on proper notice. They haven't had a chance to cure the issue, that we allow these things to linger for too long. So project engineers, we need y'all to make sure you're tracking these projects up to the moment that we run out of contract time. Make sure you are administering change orders, that we're getting those created, approved in a timely manner, so that if we know there's time still due on the contract, that we get those processed in a timely manner, so that one, we're not having to send these letters out to begin with, but also so that, we make sure the contractors have sufficient time to complete the projects. If there was additional work, if there was a delay, if whatever is holding up the project, if we know that they are due time, let's get those processed timely. Make sure y'all are keeping track of it. We're also looking to send out notifications also at that 20% behind mark. That's actually in the specifications. If you're more than 20% behind, to kind of let them know, hey, you need to submit another progress schedule that shows how you're going to complete the project on time. So these are things that we're looking at to make sure we're meeting all of our contractual requirements as well as legal requirements for notification. So contractors, we know y'all don't like for us to contact bonding companies, but per the letter of the law, once we are out of contract time, we are supposed to notify them of that situation.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Next slide. So we've had a couple of projects that have come across our desk recently where the project was, oh, sorry. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was getting some strange feedback on my end. We've had a few of these where it's come across after the fact that they were calendar day projects, but they were being administered as working day contracts. And there was a change order that came up and we were trying to figure out what happened. We just want to reiterate that the time and the place to change to create, whether it's a calendar day or a working day project, is in the pre-construction phase. That's if you have a project that you want to be one or the other, that needs to be communicated before the project is let. Once the project's let, guys, we have to administer these in accordance with the contract. We cannot just change from one to the other. So if you have any specific questions about that, don't hesitate to give us a call. We do have this memo that we can make available that we are working on updating right now. The memo is from March of 2014. It gives guidance on when to determine to use calendar day versus working day projects, A+B procedures and when to choose those, as well as when to use a CPM project. This has been reviewed and is being updated with the secretary. So we're going to increase some of these limits, and we're looking at some of the A+B bidding procedures and maybe some changes associated with that. Was there a question there? Sorry. We will be making this available as soon as we have the changes in the update. All right. Next slide.
LPA qualification. So I'm sure consultants, for those of you that are on the call, this is the part that y'all need to pay attention to, as well as our in-house staff, the project engineers. So CCS sent out a notification to all the CE&I firms that they have to take a required course. Now it's the LPA training, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you only can work on LPAs. It also is for just regular CE&I projects that you do with us as well. So all the CE&I firms, consultants need to take this class. I forget what the deadline is. It might be towards the end of this month to do the self-certification. There's also an in-person class that's done twice a year at a minimum. I believe the next one is in July. And then the one after that is in December, I think in Natchitoches. But it's a all-day training. So the videos are available on LTRC's website. It's a self-certification. You need to go through, watch all, I believe it's 9 videos, which takes about 8 hours. So it is a full day. But then you need to self-certify, turn that into your project coordinator. That's our district staff. Make sure that certification gets to them so they can see, yep, you have been certified. That's for all existing contracts and any new contracts that y'all are wanting to procure in the future. You need to make sure that the project engineer that will be on those jobs has taken the course. I think the notification that went out said all personnel, your inspectors don't have to take that class or review the videos, but it might be helpful to have them go through that information. We go through a lot of info as far as contract admin, sampling and testing, compliance requirements, payments, audit, all of that stuff that we got to do on contract admin. So make sure y'all go through, get that taken care of. We don't want to see anybody, not get a contract because they had not gone through the process of getting certified.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Spec changes, Matt.
All right, spec changes. So just want to remind everyone, if we are doing any kind of spec change, that is a category 1 change order, has to come up to headquarters. So if we are changing the penalties or not assessing a penalty, whether it be for IRI, density, resistivity, any of those reasons that we look out there and say, look, contractor did everything they could. We had them modify their means and methods, or what's out there is good, it's performing. You need to make sure you have clear reasoning for why we are not assessing a penalty or why we are waiving the use of a particular piece of equipment. We have a deteriorated base, we have this issue, that issue, whatever the case may be. But just because we do those things doesn't mean that there's a chain reaction down the line that, look, if we, for instance, if we remove the MTV, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're waiving the density requirements. We're still wanting you to get density on that, but we don't want to put this heavy piece of equipment out there. If we tell you, look, don't turn the vibrator on the rollers because we don't want to beat the base underneath, that certainly has changed your means and methods, and therefore might change up whether or not you can get density or not. So we want to make sure that is covered. So again, any changes in the specification. So if we clearly call out, you must use these pieces of equipment to do the work. If it clearly calls out, hey, if this happens, if we actually had one the other day on density where just because of the standard deviation, we were going to assess a penalty, but none of the densities were below that 92% density. So didn't make a lot of sense to assess a penalty. That is a good reason for why we would not. We had, I think whether it was an outlier or not, but we had a 95% density that threw that standard deviation off. And so the PWL showed that it should have been assessed at a 98%. but none of the densities showed up as failing. So don't want to assess a penalty on something like that.
All right. Thanks, Matt. We had a couple questions this week on reservation of rights. Change orders should fully settle issues. Specific reservations may be allowed, and general reservations, future weather not accepted. I do have a kind of a statement that I've written for our policy on this. I'm just going to read it to you. The preferred approach is for each change order to stand on its own, fully resolving the issue it addresses without the need to reserve rights. Ideally, all matters should be settled within the scope of the change order to avoid ambiguity or future disputes. However, in rare cases where a very specific part of the issue cannot be resolved immediately, the department may allow a narrowly tailored reservation of rights. This limited reservation permits the unresolved portion to be addressed later, while allowing the remainder of the work to proceed without delay. That said, reserving rights is not the first or the preferred option and should only be considered when absolutely necessary with department approval. So hope that clears that up. If you have any questions about reservation of rights on a specific issue, just reach out to us and give us a call. And we're back to Matt on RFCOs.
RFCOs, we are modifying the form. So I know that's the third bullet, but just to let y'all know, whenever we have forms, certainly want you to go to the intranet to make sure you're using the most up-to-date form. But we've had some confusion on the RFCO where it says proposed cost and time adjustments. We're going to modify that to say estimated cost and time adjustments, because we don't want to kind of lock ourselves in. If y'all are doing a ROM, rough order of magnitude, and you're saying, look, we think this is going to be $265,000 and it ends up being $290,000. Look, we're trying to do this as a concept. We want to make sure that what we're looking at is this the proper solution? Does the time and money seem approximately correct? But it's not locking us into, you can absolutely not go over if, say, you put down $265,000. So that's why we're going to change that to estimated, just so for clarity purposes, look, this is not a locked in dollar figure. Contractors, you can go over, it could be under, whatever the case may be. We also got in this week a question about RCOs for LPAs. So the limitation to our software and site manager always shows the entity as the prime contractor on LPAs, because the department is paying the money out to that entity. However, for RFCOs, for change orders, we still want the prime contractor involved in that, the actual prime contractor. So for the RFCO, we do want the prime contractor to complete that top portion of the RFCO, especially your time and money that you're anticipating the change order is going to take. And then the CE&I project engineers, just put in your write-up. Look, the LPA is in agreement with this. If that's the case, or if you're not, and y'all are having to argue back, sure everybody's on board with that. But the prime contractor does need to complete, the actual prime contractor needs to complete that top portion. The entity will just kind of sign off on the PE side of it, saying that they are in agreement. Last thing, confirm funding with the PM before submitting. So we already have in our change order templates that y'all have gone through and contacted the project manager to make sure there's funding for those, whatever the additional issue is. We will make sure we're doing that on the RFCO as well, because what we don't want to do is, again, get out there, start, get this RFCO approved, get started on work, and then we find out, oh, we don't have funding for it. Now we got to go scramble to try to find funding. So again, we want to try to, on the front end, make sure we're contacting the project manager. So put that into the write-up, project engineers, whenever y'all do that. If it's for $200,000, $100,000, whatever the case may be, make sure you're contacting the PM, make sure there's sufficient funding to cover that, and then put that into the RFCO. We'll add that in again as standard language that we want to do that just like we do with the change order templates.
Thank you, Matt. Patrick, e-construction updates. Turn it over to you now.
Morning, everyone. For those of you that were using the VPN service through AnyConnect with Cisco, may have found out about a week ago that you were no longer using the VPN service because it was turned off. And apparently OTS did not notify anyone. So we reached out to our arm, and they are looking at what we can do to get Global Protect set up for all the external users that were still utilizing the VPN service, as well as the internal users that were using the VPN service on their iPads, things like that. The guy was literally in my office about an hour ago asking for test users. So if you'd like to be a test user, please forward your info and I'll get it over to him, and we can make sure you're in the right group to try out the Global Connect or Global Protect, whichever one they're using, VPN service that they're supposed to be implementing. In addition to that, headquarters construction is looking at implementing a new project estimation completion form. This is to be filled out basically anytime you're processing an estimate where you're just putting your notes and your perceived completion estimate on this form. This is mainly to feed information to the project management staff so that they can update that public visible project viewer so that all that information can stay up to date and stay just essentially enhance the transparency across the department, all the way from the boots on the ground up to administration and out to the public. So we are looking at making that a requirement with the actual estimate process, and we've asked for that to be included in the headlight suite, as well as it be a requirement to complete that before actually being able to complete your estimate in the headlight suite. So that will be coming here shortly.
All right. Thank you, Patrick. Our last item on the agenda for today, it was brought to our attention that there are multiple right of entry forms out there. So we're just going to give a quick update on that. Caitlin?
Yeah, so we found out that there were some different versions floating around. So our intranet page has the most recent version. Les put on here how you get to it. You go to our construction page under manuals, forms, and links, and then it's under documents. This has been generated from 2009, so we need to work on an update to do that. But as of now, that is our most recent form and the one we want on using. That's it.
Thank you. So that's all our agenda items for today. We're going to open the floor up now to questions. Looks like we've had several in the chat as we've been going, but we're getting faster and faster. We've only used 23 minutes, guys.
I will add something. So, we've just been kind of taking these subjects based on feedback that we've gotten or issues that have come up since the last webinar. We do want to get y'all's feedback. So contractors, consultants, internal staff, if you would submit any issues or things that you'd like for us to discuss or better explain, so that, for the next webinar, we can, put together some things. So for instance, this compliance thing with the payroll, we'll check with them to try to get something together and maybe present on that at the next webinar. But we'll, of course, try to get an answer as soon as possible on that and get that sent out as to why salaried individuals will, need to be submitted on payroll as well. So.
Yeah, as far as the districts and contractors, we'd like everyone to kind of pool your questions if possible, and then submit them, through one person at the district, if that's possible. If not, just you're welcome to send questions in. So we just haven't been getting any feedback or questions other than what's in the chat or brought up during that, and we want to make sure that we are answering, your needs and the issues that you're seeing on the job, not just what makes its way to headquarters construction. So let's open it up now. The floor is yours.
Mark asked a question, Mark Dunn. Oop. Just went away, hold on. Why everyone was required to take it and then just PEs, that was, I think, just a miscommunication. And we were clarifying that only PEs had to take it.
Yeah, I think that was just a clarification, from what was originally sent out. It was, the main thing was we wanted the folks that are actually administering the contract. The inspectors were already having to be certified inspectors that they're supposed to have out on the job. So of course, they're doing asphalt, embankment, things like that. They have to be certified. So in that sense, those folks have already been trained appropriately. They should have those certifications. What we were wanting to make sure of is that the project engineers have also gone through some training to know what it is they're supposed to do within site manager itself, how to process the change orders correctly, the timeliness, and how imperative it is to get estimates done every 30 days, that it, of course, is state law, and just making sure everybody's aware of what the requirements are for contract admin.
I'll just add to that, and not to complain, and I don't think it's y'all's fault, but if we could reiterate, or I can reiterate to whoever that is, maybe to not make mistakes like that in the future, because I know it probably cost a lot of consultants. I had guys on overhead doing the training that now no longer it's required, so it costs companies money. And I know it's not y'all's fault, but just reiterating that.
Yep, we understand. Thank you, Mark.
Barry had some kind of site manager questions. Someone else said they didn't have the same issue, so maybe that's something we could get with you after the fact, Barry.
So Barry, I think the attachment thing is still something we are aware of. That's FileNet.
Yep.
And there's still the issue with outside folks being able to attach documents. I think some people have access, some people don't. Patrick, I don't remember what the latest update was on that, if OTS was still trying to find a solution to that, or what the issue was specifically with the attachments.
They've yet to give a definite answer. I keep forwarding them use cases, and it just seems to be limbo with some work, some don't. They've tried different permission grouping. They've tried all kind of different settings, and we're still where we started.
So in the meantime, we're having the CENI submitted to the DOTD coordinator, and they're attaching it. Is that how we're handling it now? If they do not have access?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Brian, that's working. This is Barry. It's working. I mean, I just hate for somebody else to do my job. I'd rather just do it myself. But I mean,
we understand.
Yeah.
We know about it. We're working on it. I'll put a little more pressure on it now that it's been brought back up. So see if we can't get resolution on it, figure out what's going on there.
Yeah, and Patrick, on the second part, Nicole just asked me to go to remote reports, and when I clicked on it, that actually does work. I could see my own change orders. So it's recognizing me as a user, but the regular process doesn't. So problem solved, but I don't know why it had happened that way.
All right. Thank you for that. Just as far as the RFCOs are going, from my perspective, seems like they're getting processed pretty quickly going through. By the time they get to my level within a day or two, seems like once we have that RFCO as well, the change orders, the subsequent change orders that have the RFCOs attached to them are also going through much more quickly, because you don't have to review and start from scratch on everything. Once I see that RFCO, it's a quick review and we move on and approve it. Like to hear some feedback from the field and from you guys, even from the contracting community about the RFCOs and anything we can do to improve that process. If you have a question.
Do we know when the next in-person LPA training is?
I was just looking that up. It's July 17th. And that one will be done at T-Tech. I don't know if it's full yet. And usually that LPA training, there's a LPA kind of administration of the pre-construction activities the 2 days before that. So it might be a full 3-day class. I don't know if they They break it up separately to register for just the consultant, the CE&I portion for construction, but the next one is scheduled for July 17th here at T-Tech.
Oh. Any other questions while we're here? Let's see. While we're waiting on that, I'll give a quick update on where we are with Headlight. I've got the executive summary for May. Thank you guys, Lauren. Our contract administration, we're on the funding and payment side. That's been evaluated with Headlight. We're on round 4. We've gone through several rounds of validation, and it's back for us to review. Once we get the go ahead on that, we're going to roll that out to pilot projects, and we're going to run through 2 months of estimates to make sure that everything's working. Our sampling plan feedback from District 03 has been relayed to Headlight, as well as Section 40 added some feedback to that as well. The iPad exchange is moving forward. Devices leased to DOT users are reaching the end of their life cycle. Users have reported changes in the device performance. We will be getting a future update on that. Registration forms to collect the eligible registrants, and Headlight and LADOTD have initiated the process.
Hey, Brian, I can give a quick update about the iPad exchange. So I sent out a link to everyone. This is within LADOTD, so sorry, contractors and consultants. This really does not pertain to you, but internally for LADOTD, we're doing the iPad refresh. The link, it seemed like some of our people were able to complete that and get it sent in, but lots of others were having issues with that. So Headlight, just this morning, believes they are on to a solution for that. We have a little bit more testing to do, but it looks like today we'll be able to get the better link out for you so that everyone can fill that out without having to have a Google account to do it. And so, sorry for the confusion there, but we're the tech people. Sometimes we have tech difficulties. So sorry about that. We'll get that out to you.
And give a quick update on the Garber-Rollins initiative. They had asked us for a list of names. We went across the state, pulled the list of some DAs, area engineers, and project engineers. I saw the email go out. So if you're on that list, they're going to be reaching out to you and kind of interviewing you and just trying to get a more granular understanding of the district's position on all of these issues that they're going over, and for the transformation team. And they're assisting us as well with the district reorganization. So if you're on that list, if you have any questions about that prior to them setting up a meeting, you can reach out to me or Matt or any of us up here, and we can go through what we're doing, what we're talking to them about, and some of the questions they might be asking. Also, for our district partners, our DAs, we have updated some of the SF3s for the new assistant project engineer, and the district construction engineer, these new positions. If you would like, as a DA or an area engineer, you would like to review those SF3s and see where we're headed with those, and kind of, work with us on that, I'd be glad to do that. Just reach out to me personally, and we'll get that to you and get some feedback on that while we're working through this with HR and civil service. I'd love to get your feedback on those.
Les, just to let you know, yesterday I tried clicking on the Headlight link for the iPad exchange, and it asked me to log in with my Google account. I just tried just a couple seconds ago, and it's not asking that anymore. It's been fixed.
Great detective work there, Kevin. That confirms that we've probably got that solved if you were having issues before. I was actually going to send it to you anyway to try, so you jumped the gun there. We appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kevin.
And just another update, Ryan actually put a question in the chat. when I sent that out, we would like you to fill out a form for each iPad. Headlight will use that information to determine which ones need to be replaced, and it's basically any iPad over 3 years old, according to our contract. But we need to rebuild that entire list. We just want to make sure we have a good, accurate list of all of them. So appreciate that.
All right, guys. Last chance for questions.
Hey, Brian, I did want to bring up one thing about material testing.
Yep.
So we've talked a lot in the past about maturity method, and there's a lot of confusion out there, and we seem to still be having some confusion across the state. So if anybody has a project where you will be using maturity method, please reach out to the Mat Lab. You can call me or Amar, and Patrick has helped a few folks as well. We just want to go through the process with you, make sure everybody's on the same page with how the verification process works and all that. So just if your project includes maturity method, please reach out to us.
For sure.
Hey, Brian,
Yep.
could you go over the reorg again? That was requested. Somebody missed it. Could you give a quick recap?
Yep. All right, so let's just go to the org chart, Les. Basically, what I wanted to say was that this is the structure that's proposed. You can read this org chart down from Chad, the chief, to Mike, to my position. And I currently have section 40 and section 22. That's Matt Jones, headquarters construction. If you follow that over to the right, the regional district coordinators, A and B, these are going to be our existing, what are today our headquarters area engineers, and they're going to be, those positions are going to be converted into regional coordinators, and we'll be able to hire staff that will have a training progression up to those positions. And they'll just act as a liaison between the district construction engineers and headquarters construction, still performing in that expert capacity, whether that's embankment, PCC, precast, structural, whatever those issues are, and help you find the right place and the right place to plug in, whether that's bridge design, road design, geotech, whatever. Well, what are going to be new are these down at the bottom, and that's going to be the district construction engineers, and each of those will be its new section where the DCE will be the appointing authority, and we'll be creating a new section that will be reporting up to the Office of Engineering. Go to the next slide. This is just a typical, we use District 02, but this would be like what a typical project engineering office would look like, as outlined in the red dash below. The assistant project engineers, we're reallocating those positions up to the engineer 6, which is the little circle with the 6 in it next to it for designation. If you see, look on the legend on the right, the project engineers are going to be moving from engineer 6s to engineer 7s, and the new DCEs are going to be engineer 8s. All of these new proposed construction units reporting then up to the Office of Engineering. The important thing that I was kind of updating everyone on is we turned all of this in and the SF3s to Civil Service and HR back in March, at the end of March, and they've been evaluating them, and we've gotten some feedback and some HR findings. Civil Service is still reviewing. The most important thing I wanted to read to everyone was that the proposed duties and subordinate structures of these new positions, and again, that's the DCE, the 8, the project engineer, the 7, and the assistant project engineer 6s, the proposed duties and subordinate structures of those positions appear to meet allocation criteria. And what that means is they've evaluated it. They've looked at the duties. Do they support those positions? Do they qualify for those levels? And they're saying that they do. They've given us the thumbs up on that. They've been in contact with Civil Service as well. So we're hoping to have Civil Services findings back within a few weeks. And there is a meeting in 2 weeks for the operations side, because there's a lot of logistics in moving these positions from operations over to Office of Engineering. It's around 700 and some odd positions, and we have to get the correct TO and the positions that are filled, moved in the appropriate manner. Operations is going to get their meeting in 2 weeks, and then we'll go from there. So I do want to show the dash line there at the top left of this, Les, that these DCEs will be tethered to the district administrator at each of the specific districts. And that is for emergency operations, hurricanes, debris, things like that. So in the event that we have a need or an emergency situation, those DCEs and all the underlying structure will then go and revert to the DA and report to them. So that's just kind of a quick breakdown of the proposed reorganization. And I was told that all of the legislation and all the things that are happening over at the governor's mansion are independent of this, and we've been given the green light to move forward. So that's what we're doing. Like I said, we've created the new SF3s. We've turned those in. I would like to get some feedback on that from our district administrators. Used as the point of contact, I can give you those SF3s. You can hand them down to your guys, let them review it and make sure that, we're capturing all of the necessary duties and making sure that we're meeting all the needs of the district as well as construction. So that's a recap of it. If you have any questions, let me know.
Matt, where can people see the asphalt spec changes that proposed?
Couldn't really hear what you were saying there, Caitlin.
Ask the question, they missed when you were going over the asphalt spec change. Where can I see the proposed change?
I don't think I've said anything about asphalt spec changes other than if you do a spec change, it needs to be a category 1. So if you're not utilizing or if you're going to waive density for something, if you're going to waive IRI, needs to be legitimate reason, need to provide that information, that sort of thing. But it wasn't specific to the asphalt specification. That could be concrete or anything.
I have one comment to make on the updated RFCO templates. The form, I need to update the templates in DocuSign for the new form. I'll do that right after this meeting. And I've created, like I discussed last time, I was going to create LPA, DOTD versions of, and C and I versions of the RFCO. And I did the change order 2 and 3. I just lumped them together because a lot of times 3, if it's only the PE signing off, that would be just, a page to yourself. But I'm going to update that on DocuSign, and I'm trying to share it with everybody. If you don't see it shared in your share folder on DocuSign, just send me an email. If you need access to DocuSign, please contact, they have 2 contacts on the internet, and contact them and they will set you up. If you have any questions on the setup or sending it off, just call me. I'm coming up with some kind of how-to so that it'll make it easier for people to, utilize the templates and send them off.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. Any other questions? All right. If you guys see something just like this right of entry form or something that you run across that's not consistent, reach out to us, get us the information, and we'll make sure everybody's doing the same thing. Appreciate Eric District 03 doing that. And anything that we're doing that we can do better, that's what we're here for. That's what this forum is about. If you don't feel comfortable speaking up on this in front of everybody, just reach out to us afterwards and we'll make sure we get it in the next meeting. So having no more questions, I'd like to thank everybody for their time. Thank you for attending and look forward to seeing you again. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.